Today on the Shrewd Dudes Podcast Thursday live stream, we are going to talk about a few different things.
Just a few.
The first segment in our This Week in Satire, we're going to talk about how the phone call between Biden and John Fetterman lasted 3 hours because neither of them could form a single sentence properly. Yep.
It's very plausible.
Oh, it's so plausible. It's like it's barely even satire. Then we are going to have breakdown of midterm elections, of numbers, of results, and the races that are still yet to be called, because apparently you can't decide an election in one night anymore.
It's a election season now.
Yep. Or apparently you can count 0 votes in the process of an entire day. Hello, Arizona. Yes, we're looking at you. And then finally, we are going to ruffle some feathers. In the douche of the week, we are going to talk about Donald Trump and his, quite frankly, petulant reaction to the midterm elections.
Yeah, that was Steven's decision. I'm gonna put that all on him. Any flack you may have, you may send
but
it.
I am right. So, anyways, all of that and more tonight on the Shrewd Dudes Podcast. All right. So, we have returned.
We're back.
Yes. Unfortunately,
back and better than ever.
Yeah, we are back. And after a odd time on Tuesday.
Well, that's what happens when you wing it. That's what happens when you wing it.
we winged it, and the lack of Wi-Fi availability for me, it was just like, oh,
It was
that's
huge.
not good.
Mhm.
And then
That
sound
you didn't
issues.
You didn't have a functional webcam essentially.
Yep.
That all adds up.
It all
So-
adds up, and then of
You know
course
what?
setting up in a new environment.
You give it a try. You see if
Yeah.
it works. And sometimes you'll learn new lessons and all that. I mean,
Mhm.
it's fine. I think the big thing. Here's the way I look at it. I look at it as like there are so many amazing shows out there that do amazing live commentary that it was like an embarrassment of riches. Like there's just so many things. There was obviously the Steven Crowder. They got over 1 million.
Timcast.
Daily Wire had their thing. Blaze had their own thing. Then you had all of the major networks.
Timcast, Charlie Kirk.
Charlie Kirk had a live thing. Everyone had something.
There was like a bazillion live streams going on on Tuesday. So
and the problem,
oh, hi.
Well, and the problem is that it's not so much the competition. Is that we can't really match like anything that they do. All we can do is basically give whatever they're giving and just kind of like
and just rehash it into this is our little Canadian perspective. Hi.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I think if we had to do something like that again, it might be more enjoyable to do a more of a live stream on location. Yeah. Where we kind of show hey, talk to people on who are there and basically talk to them about what they think or something. I don't know, something like that. But
yeah. You'd have to have almost everybody there. Like it'd be awkward, but somehow manageable. Anyways, so for those who are just joining us, for those who haven't witnessed or experienced the show before, this is our Thursday live stream. We of course do a recorded show on Tuesday and a live stream on Thursday. If you want to comment, give feedback, laugh at us, laugh with us.
Oh, feel free to laugh at us.
Either or if you want to get angry, we will try and respond to every comment in a somewhat reasonable manner in a decent time frame. But keep in mind, we are, of course, doing this show live, and there's just 2 of us, so not always going to be possible. But we're going to give it our best. That's right. So,
Steven, what is the is twitch.tv.shrewddudes?
twitch.tv.shrewddudespodcast.
Oh, Shrewd Dude Podcast. That's what I'm messing up.
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
So, If you want to check us out there, you can also check us out on YouTube, but I do not have a link for you because YouTube makes their links deliberately complicated for some ridiculous reason.
That's weird.
It is weird.
It's almost like it's by design.
Well, but it's just the way the system is set up.
It's always obfuscating something.
Yeah, always doing something silly.
But here's the thing, I'm obviously there's a lot of stuff that happened this week. I'm looking forward to talking about it because there's a lot of stuff to catch up on. But before we do that, why don't we start with some satire, Steve?
Yeah, I'm just going to quickly share this on Facebook.
No? Okay, so you need me to keep talking. That's what's going on.
Yeah, for a minute. Just let people know how your weekend was because we didn't talk about that at all on Tuesday.
Because you know what? People tune in just to hear about my weekend. That's kind of that's the top content that we do. No, it's okay. I'll give you some takes on obviously Tuesday, which was a big deal. I actually got a little bit huffy with my roommate because I was like, it's kind of like when you watch sports when if you're a Calgary Flames fan or a Toronto Maple Leafs fan or something like that, and it's a big game and you lose. I mean, there's an emotional weight to it.
Yeah.
And I tried to explain it to my roommate. I'm like, as much as I hate to say it, there's so much buildup to the midterms, and because this is kind of like the big thing I'm looking forward to, that the outcomes are definitely.
Oh, I was just like,
happy.
I know we're probably gonna I know the Republicans are probably gonna eke out a majority.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I was expecting so much more.
Yeah, because you were hoping for a better outcome, and then you definitely feel devastated afterwards. And particularly, I mean, I listened to Ben Shapiro the day after, and he definitely was pissed. I was like, yeah, that boy was not impressed.
Oh, he was super angry.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But
there was some of the things that Ben Shapiro was saying yesterday. I was like, okay, some of those candidates were bunk.
Yeah.
But Ben Shapiro just really, really hates anybody that thinks that, of course, the 2020 election was less than wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, Kerry Lake is a terrible candidate. I'm like, no, Kerry Lake is a wonderful candidate.
Fantastic candidate.
Kerry Lake will be one of the best things to ever happen to Arizona.
Yeah. So he had a theory, and his theory was basically that, okay, so if you run garbage candidates, you're going to get garbage results.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I think that's not a bad theory but it's, I think even like Dan Bongino had a really good take on it. He basically said that there's some good takeaways, like better ones than the ones that Ben Shapiro was given. Like for one, because there's going to be a slim House majority. That means that the Freedom Caucus, which is a very substantially large group in the House, is going to be able to be more effective because they're going to need them in order to get the votes that they need to be able to pass legislation. Which I was like, yeah, that's a good point. Secondly,
hold on.
Yeah.
Responding to Conquerworm, yes, the dead can get elected because that's how partisan the states is these days.
Yeah, there was there was a candidate in Wisconsin, wasn't it?
I think it was.
He was elected posthumously.
Yep.
I was like, I had a theory. I bet you anything if you put I would love to put this to the test. Get a rock, give it a full name.
Oh, it was in Pennsylvania.
And just put that rock up for election to demonstrate how stupid the Democratic voters are. It's like, we'll elect a rock. That'll be our representative. That counts. Megadus. But okay, so Dan Bongino had a good point. He basically said that obviously the Democrats are going to keep doing the stupid things they do because they're not going to learn their lesson from this. And that's going to bode well for 2024. And then even Stephen Crowder, he wasn't too terribly down about it. I was like, oh, surprised that he didn't see it as a gigantic super loss. So it's interesting how wide the takes are on the conservative side. Ben Shapiro is on this was unmitigated disaster. They should have been much better. Other people were saying it was not, it was not quite as bad as you might think. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of in the, we got the victories that we needed. We'll see what happens in the Senate. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But
yeah, we're gonna break down. We're gonna have like current election results and breakdown of how we think the rest are gonna go, and problems that showed up on election day.
Magically.
So we're gonna talk about that in a little bit. But for now, we are going to talk about This Week in Satire.
Ooh, it's gonna be good.
It should be very entertaining. So, we're going to first off watch a video about Elon Musk and AOC, because AOC had something taken away and it just drove her to the brink of madness.
Just put a big smile on my face.
Always.
Everything in the world was perfect. Not a single issue to complain about. Things were finally going good. And then... No! I can't think of anything more reckless than what Elon is doing. His irresponsibility is going to cost us more than he could ever know.
No!
Soon, none of us had check marks. People began leaving.
AOC, I can't do it anymore.
Bernie, no! Bernie, no! I only hope that someone, someday, will care about us small people.
Yeah. Ironically, I have not gotten my blue check mark yet.
Oh, what's wrong with you, man?
I've paid for it.
What? What's going on, man? Seriously.
I know. I'm like, come on, Elon, where's my blue check?
Yeah. I will say I laughed so hard the first time when she's driving the car, she's like running over.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's solid.
That's just
right?
how it works.
Yeah.
Because AOC, that's definitely how she would drive her Tesla.
Well, because ALC is a vapid,
vapid, and it's just like, I would rather post on Twitter than focus on the road and not killing people.
Yeah, I can see that. Very plausible.
But yeah, other people that are vapid and nonsensical are Biden and Fetterman. Okay. So from the Babylon Bee, the greatest source of satire in the world.
So good.
Biden call to congratulate Fetterman lasts 3 hours as neither can form a coherent sentence.
Yep.
So Biden's congratulatory call to John Fetterman for his Senate race win reportedly lasted in excess of 3 hours because neither man was able to form a coherent sentence. Chief of Staff Ron Klain was forced to adjust Biden's schedule as the call dragged on and on. Meetings on the economy, foreign policy, and immigration were canceled entirely. Fortunately, Biden was still able to keep up his standing tea time with Kamala.
Like he would have tea with Kamala.
They just sort of growled at each other for a while. It was very raw and analytic, as you would expect from great leaders. Klain said, advising Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre on how best to spin the time-consuming call. An excerpt, wonderful, an excerpt of the official transcript of the call has been made available by the White House. A brief excerpt of the call follows. Look, Jack, you look great, boy. Not a joke.
Me, John? Who, Jack?
You, Jack, man. Come on.
No,
No, I'm serious. Think about it.
New phone? Who this?
Hello? At publishing time, of course, the White House aides deactivated President Biden's phone after he once again phoned to ask John Fetterman if the senator-elect would consider running for Senate. Yeah, because you
I think
you
it's not that
you
funny.
you think it's satire, but
It's not that far
it's
off.
not that far off.
No, I mean,
I
like if you
would pay money to hear the actual trends, to hear the actual phone call if that phone call was made.
did you hear the acceptance speech that John Fetterman made?
Oh yeah, and he's like,
He
I
said
don't
the
know what to
most
say.
accurate thing.
I
That
don't
was
know
the
what to
most
say.
accurate thing he's ever said.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, you like it's like the
you don't. You have no idea what to say.
It's like when somebody says like it's like I don't get it, and everyone's like oh. It's like no, really, I don't get it. What's going on? Like that's the kind of joke that you get. So basically we have officially for 6 years we have a guy who is basically brain damaged because yes, he has damage to his brain, and he's basically nothing more than a automatic yes button on every Democrat policy. Like if you ever get like those those little birds. They're like a little plastic bird, and it keeps like dipping down, like to like eventually like it takes a drink from the water or something like that. That would be basically the same as having Fetterman in Senate. That's about the same. He's not going to come up with any policies. He's just not bright enough, and that's before the stroke. He's not a man.
Well, he was a socialist before the stroke.
He was communist. I would say like beyond socialist.
Yeah, that's true enough.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So the Senate's going to be a mess with him in Pennsylvania.
Just a mess.
We'll see. Now, one positive thing I remember somebody said is that there was a lot of conservatives, a lot of Republicans up for re-election in this Senate race in this year, but there's going to be an awful lot of Democratic senators up for re-election in 2024. So that is going to be a much bigger deal in 2024. So if we're gonna learn from our mistakes, now's the time. So, let's talk about the mistakes, Stephen.
Yeah, let's talk about the mistakes and how we can grow. So, just going to go over some current election numbers.
Okay, take us through.
So, Senate races.
And this is as of 8 p.m. on Thursday evening.
Yes, so that was 1 minute ago.
I mean, I'm just going by, like, somebody watches this later.
Yeah. 1 minute ago as of November 10th. So, key races, which we pointed out a while ago. Pennsylvania has, of course, already been called, which is unfortunate.
Well, that's given.
Georgia is going to have a runoff.
Okay, before you go into that, Stephen.
Yep.
How many Senate seats are we at total?
Currently, right now, it is 49 for the Republicans and 48 for the Democrats.
And that's counting the Alaska seat, because Alaska it's not declared, but it's going to be a Republican. So just so you guys know, we're at 48 to 49 seats.
Mathematically guaranteeing the yeah. So
that's a given. Now there are how many seats are open right now for Senate?
There are 3 remaining.
Okay, which are they?
So there's Nevada, there's Arizona, and there's Georgia.
Okay, so that means that we have Georgia is going to be decided in
a runoff, which will be decided early December.
Now, who is the runoff going to favor, Chief Stephen?
I think that Walker is probably going to be favored because, of course, the Libertarian Party will be taken out of contention.
Mm-hmm.
And Libertarians would more likely choose Republican than choose Democrat.
Mm-hmm. However, a lot of people have been saying that walk-off or runoff elections tend to favor Democrats a little more. So we'll see how that plays out.
It depends on like whether the voters return.
Mm-hmm.
Like Brian Kemp, of course, did bring a lot of ballots to Walker.
Yeah.
So it's just dependent on, okay, are these people going to show up? Then again, like I'm sure Warnock would get some support from Stacey Abrams supporters. There was a meme I saw of somebody who was just like people taking down their Stacey Abrams signs again. It's just like, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
But yeah, so like there's a couple of factors to remember. Like, number one, Walker is not a great candidate.
No,
like
he's not.
Everyone admits he's not a great candidate. maybe he's well spoken in public, but
he has a troubled history, and it's coming back to haunt him.
He's a flawed candidate, kind of like Mehmet Oz. Okay, now or Mehmet Oz, whatever his name is. So take that into account. That he's not a great candidate, so he doesn't have a lot of that appeal. Yeah. 2, not going to have Kemp and the excitement of the 22 election to behind him. He's going to have to bank entirely
on his own support,
on people being willing to vote for him entirely. So that'll be interesting. And then what was the last thing? 3, that like runoff elections tend to favor Democrats generally. Yeah. A lot of conservatives are kind of on the fence as to whether or not he can pull it off. The big advantage that he has is he'll probably get most of the libertarian votes. But that's also as whether the
are they going to be encouraged enough to actually show up? Maybe.
Exactly. So we'll see.
Like most libertarians or like modern liberals that I know, like classical liberals that I know, would much rather have the Republicans than the Democrats. Just like people in Canada who would support the PPC or the Christian Heritage Party would much rather have the Conservatives than the Liberals. They're not huge fans of either, but they'll take the Conservatives over the Liberals. That being said, the 2 main races in the Senate that are still up for grabs that have not determined what the end result will be are Arizona and Nevada. So we're going to start with Arizona. Actually, we're going to start with Nevada because then we're going to jump into Arizona. Yeah. Sure. So, Senate race in Nevada, Adam Lexalt, I believe it is. And I don't know who Cortez. I don't know the first name of Cortez Masto.
But that's the incumbent.
That's it's the incumbent Democrat. Lexalt is winning by 13,000 votes, give or take.
By almost 2%.
I love how none of these candidates in Nevada is actually like is an option. Is like a write-in that 10,000 people did. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
I got 10,000 votes.
10,000. It's like other candidates. It's like, all right. It's like none of these candidates.
10,000 candidates will give you such a crick in the neck.
Yeah. So
Nevada
it is of course possible that Nevada could go to a runoff as well.
Do they do runoffs? I haven't heard that.
Like as far as I know, in the Senate, you need to have over 50.
I don't know. I haven't heard anything about Nevada. If you actually like an article from the Hill that you can kind of go into because they talk a little bit about the Nevada race. So they say it's on a nice, it's on a nice edge.
So Democrats feel that a favorable political environment for Republicans, coupled with an ever-present issue inflation, would thwart Senator Catherine Cortez Masto's chances of re-election. But the mood has shifted as ballots counted in the counties appear poised to help the senator close the gap with her GOP rival. Republicans, meanwhile, remain bullish that Lexalt will eke it a win. Both parties are now playing the waiting game. Let's just do the finder or run off. It says only... Yeah, it's only mentioned once in the article. It's mentioned about the Georgia runoff. So
I'm guessing that I don't know. I mean, like we said, every state has different rules. I know we just talked. You and I talked about how Alaska does not have a runoff, which for like particularly the House, which means that the Democratic candidate is probably going to like walk off with that election. But I don't know. Like I have not heard anything about Nevada potentially being
okay. Hang on here. So these are the 10 states that conduct runoffs if there's no candidate which reaches the thresholds for victory. Okay. Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Mississippi, North Carolina, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Texas, and Vermont. So most of those are, of course, clear Republican. Hence why Georgia's the only one that really gets a runoff election.
So those are the only ones that do runoffs?
Yeah, those are the only ones that do runoffs. I thought it was just all Senate races.
No, I guess not. So I guess that means Nevada is going to be...
Nevada is...
the most.
Yeah. So right now it's favoring Lexalt. There's still 16% of the vote coming in. It angers me to no end that we're 2 days in and we're still missing 16% of the vote.
Well, the thing here, let's just kind of put this out there. It is pretty inexcusable that you can't vote. You can't count votes on time. I mean, first of all, it's not a given. It is absolutely doable because like Florida demonstrated that they can get their results in really quick.
Yep.
And that's a much bigger state with a lot more people.
Florida has so many more people than Arizona, so many more people than almost all these states. Actually, more than some of them. Like, I think Florida has more of a population than Nevada and Arizona combined.
Yeah.
And yet they can count their ballots 5 times as fast.
Yeah. So the problem isn't that you can't just say these are unexpected problems. No, these are problems
that continue to happen.
The systems themselves, whoever's running these elections, has not fixed the issues. And so the issue is not that, unexpected problems, unexpected things. The issue is that there are some serious incompetence.
Serious incompetence, or, of course, like something we have to even tentatively bring up is what's going to happen. Like, if you are in Arizona and Nevada, like, get some sort of rotation going and be vigilant watching those ballot stations.
Yeah.
Because the Democrats, let's be honest, they will do whatever it takes.
Well, this is the thing. You and I went to university. They take all sorts of measures to try to prevent any attempts at cheating.
Yep.
That's what they do in university. When I went to university, they have your exam packet. They take all sorts of things. You have to
you're spaced like 5 feet from each other.
Yeah. You have to provide a very specific detail so that you can't have someone else taking your test. Yeah. They have like all sorts of ways to prevent it, right? Why? Is it because it's impossible to cheat? No, of course not. Everyone knows it's possible. If it's possible to cheat anything from your taxes, from tests at school to elections, anything like that. And so the point isn't whether or not cheating could happen. That's always a guarantee. The question is, are the measures that you have to prevent cheating, are they good and are they working? And that's really a fair question to ask, right? So obviously with what happened, Arizona was kind of like a big focal point in this election because they suddenly had all sorts of very unexpected problems with the or anomalies with the voting systems. Now, you could just say this is unexpected. Nobody planned for this. I'm like, well, no. Okay, so the anomalies there's some patterns that you have to take into account. One, why do these problems seem to always happen in Republican districts? If this was a generic problem,
let's quickly talk about Arizona.
Sure, go for it.
So before we break down the Arizona issues, Kelly and Masters. Kelly is leading now by a fairly significant margin, over 100,000 ballots.
Yeah.
So my guess is that Kelly's probably going to win.
Well, here's the thing too, though. So Carrie Lake, she's been in a couple interviews, including on Steven Crowder. She's very familiar with most of these things. Carrie Lake right now, I've looked at various polls, and every single poll they keep saying that their opponent, I forget her name, Hobbs. Yeah. That she's every poll that I've seen says Hobbs is leading.
Yeah.
And Lake was saying that's not accurate at all. She hasn't been leading. She said that she hasn't been leading in just about any race. That's a lot of manipulated polling and things that they're throwing out there. So Carrie Lake really right now is in the lead, and like we said, because she said it on the show, and the Gateway Pundit even showed it, that mathematically, Carrie Lake can't lose.
Yeah.
Right now, there's no mathematical path. It's how in sports you watch hockey, there's mathematical elimination.
Yeah.
Where it's there's absolutely no
chance that they can get the amount of points required to get into the playoffs.
Yes, and that happens in sports. That also happens in voting, where mathematically you can possibly do it. Right now, majority of the remaining votes to be counted, they know where they're from. They know what kind of voters and what kind of voting it was, and they can pretty comfortably predict how like what kind of breakdown the votes will take. Yeah. So right now, like it's almost a guarantee. Carrie Lake's theory is that they're slow rolling, which means that they know that they're going to lose, but they're intentionally delaying the counting in order to kind of like, to basically deflate the momentum.
Yeah.
Right. Which is plausible. I will say that is very plausible. There are people who are, just bad actors. And so I would not be shocked by that.
Yep. So that was, and then of course, following up with what's happening in Arizona, election officials in Maricopa County are addressing the ballot issues amongst Carrie Lake, Blake Masters' lawsuit. Mm-hmm. So essentially what happened is they claim that dozens of polling stations in Republican areas in Maricopa County. Carrie Lake actually visited several polling stations in more Democratic regions of Maricopa County, and none of them had this issue.
Which I will say, you're not crazy for noticing that.
Yeah.
That is absolutely a reasonable, be like, that's weird. Why is it only Republican?
Really. Well, like, it's clearly election interference if anybody finds even a smidgen of intentional wrongdoing on their part.
Yeah.
Because like I know from the videos that I was watching on election day, in the Republican districts, the lines were out the door and around the block. And in the Democrat districts, they could go in and vote in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's like, not everybody has the time. If they're just doing it on their lunch break, if they're just doing it here or there, not everyone has the time to stand in line for 2 hours and vote.
Yeah.
Like if dozens of stations ran out of paper ballots, that's probably impacting several thousand votes. And most of them Republican.
Yeah. And to be fair, like, I like how Steven Crowder says it. You don't have to have these like incredibly sophisticated methods to try to affect the vote. Like just simple things can really have massive impacts. If you have like 20% of the votes, voters like being told it's going to be several hours.
Well, this says that like just the printer issue was about 17,000 ballots that it addressed.
And that's basically the election right there.
Oh, that is the election, and like that is almost double the perceived and apparent real numbers of how much Biden beat Trump by in Arizona. Like these are things you have to keep an eye on. And oh yeah, the election officials, we plan to get to the bottom of it. Yeah, I'm sure you do. But you'll plan to get to the bottom of it after the race is called. And then you'll say, well, there was no evidence of wrongdoing. It was just like a generalized mistake. It's like, well, we don't believe you for half a second.
Well, the way that people the media likes to say, it's like, oh my gosh, you're spreading distrust in our institutions. The question you should always ask when people say that is, do our institutions deserve trust? Because this is the kind of stuff that really, like, when they tell you, like, you and your conspiracy theory. I'm like, if you want people to trust your elections, you need to deal with stuff like this. People are, like, for good reason, have a lot of distrust of the media, of the government, and a lot of people who are, like, are getting away with a lot of stuff. So naturally, people are going to be very skeptical. If you want to earn people's trust, you need to fix these problems. One thing that I thought was interesting in this whole Arizona race is there's a very serious problem in the fact that Katie Hobbs is the Attorney General, which means that she is responsible and ultimately the last word in a lot of these voter issues. That is a gigantic. I didn't actually know that until recently. I was like, that is a huge conflict of interest. You're basically the quote unquote judge on an election that you're a part of. I don't know what happened there. I heard myself. But that shouldn't be a problem. That shouldn't be a thing. That should not. You should not be able to be the arbiter on an election that you yourself are part of. So it's that really made me like thinking like, okay, that's not okay. And then we're seeing these problems, and combine that with the fact that she's in charge, combine that with the fact that this has happened before, combine that with the fact that Maricopa County already has a very seriously tarnished reputation for like various anomalies in the previous election. This is a gigantic guy. So Carrie Lake is right. But the ultimate thing here, whatever. I don't know what you're laughing at, but I'm just going to. The last
Conquerworm has decided to appeal to me to try and get you to turn your mic around properly.
I thought it is right.
No, he says the logo is supposed to be painting towards you, and he like showed me this audio graph, and it's why that's important.
Okay.
So fix your crap.
I thought I had it right because it's vertical.
Oh, you
and
are.
I thought, like that?
Oh yeah, you're much clearer now.
Oh, okay. I thought it actually worked both
have to
ways.
like lower your volume because I had you like boosted.
Well,
because you were much lower. But yeah, now I'm gonna have to put you down.
I am loud.
Not kill you though. Not yet. That comes later.
Not completely.
That comes later. But
all right,
as we were saying, like the fact that this is a continual problem in these communities is something that we hope that if the GOP takes the Senate, and well, if they take the Senate by just a slim margin, and if they take the House, which is possible, and the only House races which I really know anything about is the Colorado 3rd District, in which Lauren Boebert is leading slightly.
That's a big one.
It's a big one because Lauren Boebert is a very prominent Republican.
She was not supposed to lose.
No.
She was not supposed to lose. She was supposed to be a guarantee, which is a big deal. Can I say one thing really quick about the House races as a general oversight? A lot of people were predicting anywhere between like 50 seats, like majority, all the way down to like a couple less. The thing is that a lot of the major gains in seats, amazingly, were in Florida, where like they said like there's no Democratic what was it? No Democratic pickup at all in Florida. They said that they had like no representatives on one show I saw. The Senate is gone in Florida. That must have been recently then. But yeah, like so. No, sorry. Those are the ones that I think were there before that were not up for re-election. I think.
I'm just looking at like some of them, like most of the ones in which the Democrat won are the only one that wasn't an incumbent. It's the 23rd district. And I think that's just because the incumbent resigned, but I think the incumbent probably was a Democrat. So no actual pickups.
So basically, like in Florida, the Republicans like dominated. So like they got like several seats, and in New York, where who was the guy that was running against Hochul? Lee Zeldin.
Yep.
Lee Zeldin gave up his seat, his congressional seat, and because of his great campaign, he actually managed to get a whole bunch of seats for New York Republicans. So you combine New York with Florida and their seats that they got for the party, that is just about half, if not around half of all the seats that the GOP picked up from the previous amount. That's a massive, that's a massive, good on New York, good on Florida, but that's a massive black eye unfortunately for the people in everywhere else that should have gotten all these like big time wins, right?
Yes.
So GOP, the House is going to go Republican. That's a guarantee. The question is how big the majority is going to be. It's probably not going to be that big. But one of the trade-offs of that is that obviously the Freedom Caucus is going to have a lot more say in those races. In the Senate, I'm guessing I'm going to predict. I think that the GOP will probably get 51 seats because I really do believe that Nevada will go.
I think it'll go for the Republicans.
Yeah, and I don't have a lot of faith that Georgia will go Republican, but I think Arizona has a good chance because Carrie Lake basically said that she's very confident that Blake Masters will probably pull it off. And I'm like, I'm gonna go with that. I'm a little more confident in Carrie Lake's take than in Georgia. So, Arizona's going to be the place where we're going to win the 51st seat.
All right. I think that they have I'm less confident of their outcome in Arizona, but it could go other way. I'm fairly confident that Carrie Lake will win. But
no, that's a guarantee. That's a mathematical guarantee.
Like
the only way that you wouldn't win is if there's something wholly like
totally fair and free.
Yeah,
things that would happen that would make Carrie Lake lose.
That would totally be on the level.
Yeah, but to finish out our conversation about the midterm elections, so we did talk briefly about Lauren Boebert. And how she has just recently taken lead. I remember, it is absolutely unbelievable how close this race is. Like, it's spread out. It's spread out quite a bit recently. But when I checked yesterday, I was, the gap between Boebert and Frisch was 70 votes. I was like, this is insane.
It was 64. At one point.
That's absolutely nuts.
They tried to get her to concede early before and thank goodness she didn't because
you don't concede until all the ballots and all of the lawsuits are settled.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because now, of course, we did mention that they're having lawsuits in Arizona.
Yeah, they should.
But that doesn't stop MSNBC. So MSNBC yucks it over a crude cheap shot on Lauren Boebert. Her loss will be a gain for OnlyFans.
Yeah, so it's really terrible.
Yeah, really inappropriate. So of
go,
course,
go and get the video there. See if you can play it.
Yes, the readout clip.
Ugh.
So this is just watch the video. It's
so I'm optimistic. Even if it matters, even if control matters in Georgia, I still think we have the stronger hand in Georgia because you know what we have? We have a much better candidate.
Yeah. Well, the next guest that we're going to have on, Kurt, is going to be Mr. Frisch, who is running very well in a very tight race against Lauren Boebert. What's the meaning if Lauren Boebert, the second most popular QAnon congressperson in MAGA, what if she loses? And what job will she have? Because I don't even think shooters exist anymore. I don't think shooters exist anymore.
Well, I guess it might be a gain for OnlyFans. I don't know what she would do in this scenario, but I think that
look at the face of the lady on the left.
To take out one of the poster childs of the MAGA movement, someone who has been an absolute disgrace to the office that she holds, would be a great feather in the cap and would, I think, cement the fact that this has been an absolute unmitigated disaster for the MAGA wing of the Republic.
Okay. I seriously think that one thing with this idiot is the fact that he keeps using the term MAGA Republican as some kind of things, as some sort of an insult. I'm like, you guys are basically communist Democrats.
Yeah.
Okay, you're just as bad. No, they're not just as bad. There's nothing wrong with MAGA. They've created a boogeyman that doesn't exist. But communist Democrats, they do exist, and they are legitimately evil people. But did you see the look of that lady on the left? Did you see that, Steven? She was shocked. She was like, she couldn't believe he said that. He's like, what?
Some Democrats are shocked by the behavior of their colleagues. Oh no.
Gosh.
Just like some Republicans sometimes can be shocked by the behavior of other Republicans. It happens. It's less common amongst Republicans because Republicans do less crazy things. But speaking of crazy things,
Well, hold on.
Yeah,
because I was waiting for you to make. I thought you had more points, like you were going to bring up more stuff or something. Here's the question: is that an appropriate joke? Okay,
no.
Like I listen to obviously Stephen Latimer Crowder. They make a lot of jokes. Sometimes they're a little bit off taste and all that. But if you're into that kind of stuff, that's fine. Like the question is that an appropriate joke? Because you're basically taking. I feel like it's a joke that you would make on a crude type podcast, right? If you're just like a bunch of guys commenting on politics and you're on a off kind of label podcast, that's fine. If you're a comedian talking about it maybe on some kind of show, I don't like the joke because you're basically saying like, oh well, you were gonna run for congresswoman, but now you can be in porn. That's incredibly insulting. Now, is that a completely off limits joke? No, I don't think it's tasteful. But here's the problem: this is not on a comedy show or on some other little lower thing. This is on supposedly
a serious news network.
A serious news network making a joke like that. That is not okay. So that is where I have the problem with it, because MSNBC is a giant joke. My goodness, like imagine making a joke like that about AOC. Like people would be freaking out. And to be fair, everyone on the
even the joke of even the kind of like humorous composition that Alex Stein made about Alex Stein having the big booty, and she's like, "This is sexual harassment."
That is,
and it's like, well, to a minor degree, but let's be honest. The OnlyFans comment is much, much worse.
Mm-hmm. Because it's incredibly insulting.
Oh, it's exceptionally insulting.
Alex Stein's
essentially
joke
saying, well, Alex Stein is just like, well, it's like, you're pretty. And I like your physical features.
Yeah.
And I kind of think that's all that's important about you. But
yeah, is it not tasteful? Like obviously not, because you're this representative. But at least as a compliment,
it is. Yes,
the guy here basically said it as essentially almost like a cheap shot.
Well, yeah, it was entirely meant as well. This is the only thing you'll be good for.
Yeah, and that's not even like that. Like he could have made some kind of like shot about her being a housewife, or maybe I don't know, like working with some multi-level marketing scheme or whatever. But no, he went straight for OnlyFans, basically saying, "Oh, you were going to be a congresswoman, now you can be in porn." Like it's such an insulting thing for anyone. So I didn't like it. I think it's totally out of place. I'm not shocked that Joy Reid laughed about it. No, because to be fair,
Joy Reid is Joy Reid.
Well, to be fair, people like her tend to laugh at the misfortune and like to engage in a lot of mockery, because they're not good people. These are really cruel people. Anyways, that's all I got to say about that one. Yeah.
Well, I think that's pretty. Oh, and the last thing that we have to talk about, in terms of talking about innuendo and sexual impropriety and relationships. This is just an interesting poll. The GOP is, of course, favored by married people, and the Democrats strongly supported by unmarried women. So, married men voted for Republicans 20% more than they did for Democrats. Single men also favored Republicans, but by a much slimmer margin. Married women favored the Republicans by 14%. Unmarried women, however, sided with the Democrats a whopping 37% more than they did Republicans.
Next.
So, suffice to say, find a woman and marry her, and you will make a conservative out of her.
I think that's generally true for conservatives. The other demographics that are worth mentioning are young people, like really, really young voters. They went very heavily towards the Democrats, which makes sense because when you're younger, you tend to be Democrat, and when you're older, you tend to be more Republican. Just because it's not about getting free stuff. Now it's about don't steal my money. Which becomes a lesson later in life. The third demographic that I found really interesting, and I know you probably saw this, Stephen, is the Hispanic vote. Florida's Hispanic vote was absolutely
just massive numbers for DeSantis.
Yeah, Florida.
Yeah, that is actually something we do need to address, and we do need to talk about it, and we will be mentioning it later.
Mm-hmm.
But the only state that really had a massive landslide, like red tsunami kind of results was Florida. And the results came early in the night, which is what made, like, everybody at the party you and I went to, it's like, oh, like, the results are looking good out of Florida. Like, this is going to be a good night.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just like, dang it.
And it kind of died there. It kind of died in Florida.
Yeah, it definitely died in Florida.
The states that did really well are Florida, obviously Texas. Georgia did really well with Kemp in the governor race, and Ohio with J.D. Vance. But after that, everything else was kind of a very big disappointment. So altogether, the Democrats should not have done as well as they did, because they had nothing.
No.
They had literally nothing to run on. And these are the times where I'm actually thinking in my head, you know, like the Democrats, I don't know if it was Hillary Clinton. I think it might have been Hillary Clinton, who said that the Republican voters are too stupid to know what's good for them.
Mm-hmm.
I actually feel that a little bit for a lot of these Democratic voters.
Well, it's the same way for liberals up here in Canada.
Yeah.
Like, I look, and I mentioned this last week, but it continues to trend on Twitter. Bring back masks continues to trend on Twitter, and they're like, oh, is Ontario and BC going to bring back masks? Because COVID is just spiraling out of control. And I'm like, you people are so stupid. And yes, Conquer Worm, Alex Stein going after Beto was great. Beto is the home run triple loser. He lost for House, he lost for the president, he lost for the Senate, and he lost for governor.
Quadruple crown.
Actually, I don't think he lost for the House. He did lose for Senate, he lost for governor, and he lost his presidential bid. Beto O'Rourke, Robert Francis.
Can you bring that up, Stephen? Like that actual Beto, like the Alex Stein thing?
Yes.
Because that would be awesome. Because like that would be a good way to like finish it up. Because like Beto O'Rourke, and Stacey Abrams were both, they were both like the darlings, the media darlings of just about everybody, and unfortunately, they're also like the biggest like disappointments in the Democrat Party, because right now, like they basically have no superstars in the Democrat Party that can like potentially run against these fools and all that. But Beto O'Rourke, he can't do anything right, and in the Senate race against
he can't do anything right, but he does it to himself.
Yes, in the Senate race, he was actually like looking like he
somewhat competitive.
Yeah, might actually have a chance against Ted Cruz. In this one, it wasn't even close.
Oh, it was the devastating loss.
Yeah, he actually he pulled the ultimate dick move when he went on he tried to Uvalde. He rushed the stage or went up to the stage.
Totally
and tried to,
classless.
Yeah, totally tried to like steal the moment and try to like yell at the Abbott and all that. I was like, that was a dick move, man. So yeah, let's look at this one, because I only heard it.
Hold on, I'm just making sure that
sound.
Nope, I was just making sure that everything was properly.
Do you feel guilty about the money you wasted? How are you going to protect trans kids by cutting off their genitals? How does that protect trans kids, Beto? Beto, how does that protect trans kids? Beto, how are you protecting trans kids by cutting off their genitals?
Let's do it. That's all right.
Beto, you know you're going to lose, Beto. This is how many losses in a row? How many more losses are you going to take, Beto?
Just move forward.
Beto, how many more losses are you going to take? Are you going to quit? Where's your campaign money going? Beto, are you quitting after this failure? Are you going to quit after you fail today?
Give back the money that
Beto, do you feel guilty that you're a loser, Beto? Beto, do you feel bad about losing?
You feel bad about losing.
Beto, do you feel like a loser, Beto?
Do you feel like a loser, Beto? Oh, Alex Stein.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
You feel like a loser, Beto.
Hey, how does it feel to lose, loser?
Oh my gosh, 100. I thought it was 200 million through I guess it was 120 million for his governor's race, and then I think through his presidential and his Senate and his governor's race, it was 200 million that he has gone through to lose.
Yeah, and a lot of that money was 25% from out of state.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that talk about just throwing money in the toilet.
Oh, just throwing it down the tube.
Oh, by the way, one thing I remember hearing somebody said is that it's virtually guaranteed that Joe Biden will be the candidate for 2024.
Yeah,
barring some major health issue. Well,
yeah, especially when they asked him after he's like, okay, well, we seem to have come out of the midterms okay, and they're like, okay, are you going to change anything? And he's like, nope. It's like, all right. Because, yeah, if there was, a massive, 30-40 race and, house swap, then, yeah, the Democrats would probably be talking about how they're going to turn on Biden. But because it was only a red trickle, then Biden's very likely going to be the candidate for 2024. And we could easily see a rematch of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
In which Biden is, of course, stuck in the basement campaigning, and we'll see how Trump does.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, I mean, and we'll see what happens with Trump and
DeSantis first.
DeSantis, but that'll be later on.
Yeah.
Right, Stephen?
Clip of who endorsing Trump? Alex Stein?
No. We're going to talk about Ron DeSantis.
Conquerworm has there's a clip of somebody endorsing Trump, but I don't know where it's from.
Oh.
I think it might be Alex Stein. I've heard of Biden endorsing Trump. Oh,
that's interesting.
Okay, yeah, that'd be if you find that link, please.
I'll tell you what. I'll see if I can find it.
Okay, you look for it. All right, I'm going to jump into the news you may have missed to talk about the news that you may have missed. So, from the Toronto Star, Sean Penn, another perennial loser and cuck, loans Oscar to Zelensky until Ukraine wins war. Yeah, good luck with that. When you win, bring it back to Malibu. Sean Penn, who is making a documentary about Russia's invasion of Ukraine, has loaned one of his 2 Oscars to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and told him, when you win, bring it back to Malibu. Zelensky's office on Wednesday released the video of the encounter during Penn's most recent visit to Ukraine, his third since the February 24th start of the war. The president tweeted that the Oscar was a symbol of faith in the victory of our country. Yep. You know what's a symbol of the not faith in your country? I have a coworker who doesn't speak a lick of English, and he ran away from Ukraine to get away from your warmongering. Because you're an asshat. Danny is busy.
Oh, are we doing the second?
No.
Part?
No, not yet.
I found a clip, by the way. Okay, whenever you're ready. I did.
Okay, well then.
Where do you want me to send it?
In the usual location.
All right, there you go.
It'll be part of our news you may have missed.
Put it at the end. Okay. Do you want me to cover the second story?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, cool. So this is from page 6. SNL staff writers boycott over Dave Chappelle's hosting gig. Speaking of the one thing that nobody's surprised by, there's unrest at 30 Rock, page 6 here's, over the decision to sign Dave Chappelle to host Saturday Night Live this weekend. We're told that some staff writers are so furious that the comedy superstar, who has made quote unquote transphobic or homophobic jokes, which he hasn't, they just always portray him that way, has been chosen to helm the iconic show, that they're sitting out the episode. Of course they are, because they're a bunch of crybabies. They're not going to do the show, an insider told page 6, but none of the actors are boycotting. But Chappelle's rep told us that there was nothing to suggest that there was a boycott when they attended writers' meetings this week. SNL revealed last week Chappelle show star would host a show with musical guest Black Star on November 12th. This will be his 3rd time as host. Go Dave. Some So it sounds like, like SNL, like this is such a common thread for like the lunatic left. They basically they hate. There's literally hatred. They accuse the right, anyone on the right, of being hateful and intolerant, but they are the worst. They are the worst perpetrators when it comes to that kind of stuff. They always hate people who don't agree and don't ascribe to their views or beliefs. This is such a perfect example because SNL, which is not funny anymore, is a completely and totally is taken over by the leftist woke virus. So no shock there that they're boycotting. So yeah, more of the same. All right, Stephen, you got the next one?
Yeah, I got the next one. All right, so Elon Musk, the road ahead is arduous. Citing dire economic outlook and company-wide email warns Twitter could die without subscription income.
Well.
In the first company-wide email, Elon Musk declared the economic outlook appears dire and that absent subscription-based revenue, the company could go under during the economic slowdown. Sorry that this is my first email to the whole company, but there is no way to sugarcoat the message. Musk wrote in an email, according to Insider. Frankly, the economic picture ahead is dire, especially for a company like ours that is so dependent on advertising in a challenging economic climate. Without significant subscription revenue, there's a good chance Twitter will not survive the upcoming economic downturn. We need roughly half of our revenue to be subscription. The road ahead is arduous and will require intense work to succeed. Yeah. And of course, they recently changed from having just Twitter Blue be a subscription to, if you want to be verified, you need to have a subscription. So it changes it so that it's no longer available to the privileged elite. It is available to the masses. Yet apparently not available to us. Where are we at, Elon? Actually, from what I read, it was only available to iOS customers for now. So we'll see.
Yeah, give him a break. There's a very quick turnaround, so it's got to take some time to get it all worked out. I don't know. Like a lot of people say, like, maybe it's good that Twitter tanks because Twitter's been kind of a gigantic mess for a long time. This may be part of the reason why Elon wanted to kind of, get out of this game.
Yeah.
Because he knew that the company was just not very viable, and that also might be the reason why he met with all those leftist groups last week, because the big threat was advertising. Because they hold a lot of sway and a lot of power over advertisers. However, if Elon is able to take the company through this next little season and help them survive the initial kind of wave of freakouts from the leftist activists, this company may actually grow to become one of the most amazing.
I think that with a new subscription base, because they're going to be charging, and it's not a big amount. It's less than Disney Plus per month for a verification. And verification on Twitter does change how you are read and interpreted and how people communicate with you.
Yeah.
When you're verified, then you have a notification tab just for other verified users. So that does change your interaction with other people on Twitter. So,
yeah,
I think there's going to be a few million subs.
Yeah.
And if you have a few million subs, then that's... Actually, it'll probably be more than that. It'll probably be 100 million subs.
And I think the other things getting the verified badge, $8 a month, also it's going to supposedly get you a lot of additional benefits, longer, more options, more...
The only thing it really gives me so far is the ability to edit my tweets within half an hour of posting it.
Yeah, but he's been saying that there's more stuff coming down.
Yes,
down the line, the ability to post long form videos, for example, might be something coming down the line on Twitter.
Yeah,
but obviously they're looking at that, and so there's two things that conservatives want. One is more options. Two is a platform that enforces everything fairly, and as long as he follows through and actually brings back all the banned accounts, I think a lot of conservatives are probably going to jump on the train and be like, "Yeah, we're all in." So we'll see what happens in the next little while. You can see the forces that are at play. So hopefully it'll work out in the next little while. Okay. All right, so this is from LifeSite, and this is just really terribly sad. Justin Trudeau's decision to appear on a TV drag show is a surprise to no one.
Yeah.
Insulting parodies are kind of his thing, and his respect for women has been largely limited to shouting his support for abortion and calling himself a feminist, which is absolutely bang on. Justin Trudeau is a fake feminist. He is not at all a true feminist. So basically, he kind of made headlines because he's going to be on this drag show. Now, I didn't know what the show was about until I saw the video. It is so much worse than you can imagine. Unfortunately, because I have to suffer, I want you to suffer too.
Yep.
To have to see this. So go ahead, Steven.
Breathe in. Breathe out.
The time has come. World, meet your next host nation. Bonjour. And welcome to Canada. We're looking for the next global drag superstar.
Now that I've won your heart, time to win the crowd.
Every time you come out on that runway, it is just electric.
It was elegance, it was grace, it was confidence.
This look is
that's how I reacted to that.
I couldn't take my eyes off of you.
And that's lunch, everyone.
Who's ready for world domination?
Please help me welcome the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau!
This one is about to go down in history. My jaw just dropped.
Oh my goodness.
This look is marvelous.
I am excited to see you here.
I can't. Nope.
Yep.
Nope.
You know what that is? You know what that is? That is a one-up show. It's like they keep trying. Okay, who can be the most shocking, the most outrageous, the most over-the-top crazy? And it's like everyone's trying to go, like, I could be crazy. Well, I could be crazier. Well, I could be craziest. Well, I could be super crazier. Like, it's like they just keep one-upping each other. Like, eventually, they're like, what are they going to do? They're going to literally have to, like, hack off body parts on live on TV or like, you know, like eat like a live scorpion or like just like this is so out there. And the fact that this stuff used to be, this is the kind of stuff like where there's like serious fetishes involved. Like there's a lot of this. It's all like, you know, like men that want like it's autogynephilia. Men who get turned on by how they look, you know, like in like, you know, like women. But like this is so much worse than I imagined. Like some of the faces like on these people, they're so grotesque. It's just like like how did and then they're telling them you're so brave and so beautiful. It's like at some point, this is the kind of like, you know, value system that just destroys our country. Ugh. But of course, this is happening in Canada. Of course, because Canada has a history of some of the most like just out there egregious things in entertainment. It's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
So
I'm actually
the fact that Trudeau is on there.
I'm adding a last minute thing.
What?
A last minute story to the news you may have missed. So we're gonna up it to 7, just because this one is.
Oh jeez.
Yeah. Because we actually had somebody at the party that was on Tuesday. Yeah. That was one of the lawyers that was fighting against the province.
Yeah.
So.
From the JCCF.
Yep, from the JCCF. And it was funny because he and I were chatting, and apparently he used to mow my aunt's lawn when he was like 10. Really? So I was like, well, that's funny. But from Summit News, countries that have sought zero COVID lockdowns have the least immunity. Well, that's not surprising in any way. Analysis estimates that only 17% of Chinese population have immunity from the virus. The analysis by the Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation at the University of Washington School of Medicine estimates that China, which still has multiple lockdowns in place, has the lowest level of immunity to COVID-19 on the planet. Other nations that didn't institute harsh lockdowns, including Russia, Singapore, and Brazil, have thought to have the highest immunity levels according to the research. Research estimates immunity rates according to the infection numbers, vaccination rates, and how much time has passed in the interim. Posits that by the end of October 2022, just 17% of the Chinese population have immunity from the virus, while Russia is estimated to have an immunity rating of 74.5%.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Singapore's immunity rating is also around 70%, and Brazil's 68%. And Japan,
immunity for the win.
And Japan, another country that put in place harsh restrictions, is believed to have just 38.9% immunity.
Mm-hmm.
So, this was well expected.
Yep.
Nobody thought that this would be any different. So this is just another statistic to add to the pile.
The gigantic mountain.
The gigantic mountain of lockdowns were stupid.
Yeah,
and of course, from Conquerworm, low-vax counties versus high-vax countries, excess death rates also screams vax bad.
It's negative efficacy.
Yes.
Is the big problem.
Negative efficacy, and nobody seems... Like, it's so hard to drill that even minorly.
Mm-hmm.
Because as soon as you say, it's like, well, like, can you at least admit that the vaccine was bad? Why do you keep talking about all these conspiracies? And like, why would you assume that all these people are out to get you? We're not assuming that all of them are out to get you, and all of them are evil. We're just saying that they're weighing the risk of coming out, and they're not brave enough, or they've bought into the lie so wholeheartedly that they believe it themselves. That's basically the two options now. Is they're afraid of the outcomes.
Yeah.
Because they know that if they come out against it, and if they come and say, it's probably not all that safe or all that effective, then you're going to have the same result. You're going to have the same end result as Dr. Daniel Nagase.
Yep.
In which the province came after him with a vengeance.
Well, an amazing thing is, like, the College of Physicians, I think, here in Alberta, I was listening to John Carpe talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, their role was so minimal. It was like basically dealing with like the rare doctor who was doing something really dangerous, like, you know, like they had to be like, okay, we're gonna address that. They went from barely ever having to deal with any kind of doctor doing something harmful to basically being the vaccine Gestapo. It was crazy when I found that out. I was like, geez. So like there was somebody at the party, a guy that I thought, like, you know, I'm like, okay, here's a fairly, like, you know, well-off Christian who was so convinced that everything from the masks to the lockdowns to the vaccine to everything is completely justified. Thank goodness for our wonderful, like, you know, amazing, loving government that protected us so well. I was like, no, like, not even close. And he's bought into the narrative, like he was spoon-fed the narrative that, oh, anyone who disagrees is a crazy conspiracy theorist.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, they basically got you.
They got you real good.
They got you well. You are deep into the hole.
Yeah.
So it's so a lot of people are calling for these things to come back, but another reason to not to believe them.
All right.
But speaking of our government spoon feeding nonsense, this is from Rebel News. Children are given pro cricket eating assignment in a Maple Ridge, BC school. We try to offer stories on a range of topics that kids typically find interesting. Les Plan editor Janet Wichorsek told Rebel News. Yeah. All right, so here. This is from a BC father who was shocked when his child came home with a pro cricket eating assignment from school. My kid knew well enough to bring this home yesterday. Second school day of the year, and the indoctrination begins. This is School District 42 in BC. If this concerns you, share it. So, Todd Preddy's child, along with other students in a Maple Ridge Elementary School, received a 4-page Canadian reader assignment titled The Farm of the Future? Earlier this year. The resource was published by an education service called Le Plan and is centered around the world's largest cricket factory, which was recently built in Ontario. Despite the UN praised bug eating facility being massive in size, only 60 employees are needed for it due to it being predominantly run by artificial intelligence. So then it goes about Angelina Jolie and all that. Basically, okay, here we go. A little lower. Wichorchak says she picked this particular story for the Canadian Reader September issue because she thought the combination of artificial intelligence bugs as a potential food source in Canada would grab the attention of wrong readers. Oh, kids would we did this because we think that's what's hip with the kids. That's the reason we did it. But why does the resource only mention appealing comments about cricket eating in Ontario's cricket factory? The resource makes no mention of allergies and parasites that are associated with eating crickets, nor does it touch on what AI could mean for the financial well-being of society when it replaces jobs that were historically offered by humans. In response, Wojciechowski stated that the purpose of the article wasn't to provide pros and cons about cricket eating, well, clearly, or farms that use AI. It was to provide students with an interesting article about this new farm, what it's producing, and why. So basically, now, on the list of like egregious things that they could be teaching children in our Canadian schools, this is not up there, but it shows that they're already starting to. They want to plant the seed, start getting it out there, so that kids. Because remember, that's the whole plan is to normalize things that are not normal. This is the MO of everything. This is why they try to get gay content and trans content in schools, because they want to normalize it. They want to make it. This is normal. Having two moms and having two dads and having gay parents and all that kind of stuff, totally normal. Engaging in any and all forms of sexual immorality of any kind, it's totally normal. It's a free-for-all buffet. And of course they're doing that with bugs, because in the future they want to make it so that the only people who can eat meat are the elites, and us poor poor penniless plebes are going to have to eat the bugs. So that's their ultimate plan. So that's what they're going to do if they can.
Yeah.
So
all right.
That's that story.
That's that story. And finally, so from 2 days ago, Alberta Court of Appeal dismisses unvaccinated woman's case for organ donation. So the Court of Appeal has upheld the requirement that eligible transplant recipients be vaccinated against COVID, saying the stipulation did not violate the charter rights of a woman who refused to get a dose. Annette Lewis filed a legal challenge against AHS doctors in a hospital earlier this year when she was unable to get a life-saving organ transplant due to her unwillingness to get vaccinated. Being vaccinated against COVID-19 is a necessary component of a proper medical care for individuals, including Miss Lewis, who is seeking an organ transplant, the Court of Appeal ruled Tuesday. The diabolical level of evil. So, of course, there's a publication ban on the doctor's identities, the organ involved in the location of the transplant program. She was diagnosed with terminal disease in 2018 when she was told she would not survive unless she received an organ transplant. She was placed on a transplant waitlist in 2020, but was informed a year later she would need to get the vaccine to receive an organ. Of course, taking the vaccine offends my conscience. She said in an affidavit, I have to have the choice to what goes in my body, and a life-saving treatment cannot be denied to me because I chose not to take an experimental treatment for a condition which I do not have and which I may never have. Violates her, she argued, and it does, it violates her charter rights to life, conscience, liberty, and the security of the person. It was dismissed in the Court of King's Bench earlier this year with Justice Paul Bazil ruling the standard of care must be the same for all potential recipients or could result in medical chaos. It has no application on clinical treatment decisions, in particular for doctors establishing preconditions for organ transplants. Oh, that's disgusting. Truly horrifically disgusting.
Tell me exactly on what basis can you make that this person has to have a vaccine? What possible justification could they make? I mean, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. What is the potential justification?
Well, their justification was that her coming in for the organ transplant, and their justification was, if you're vaccinated, then you're less likely to transmit the virus, which of course is not true. But that's what they based all of the mandates on.
Yeah, and so it makes me wonder if this judge has made this decision within the last, I don't know when this decision came out.
2 days ago.
2 days ago. That means that this judge is completely ignorant of the current science. Completely ignorant, because remember that story in New York? The judge in New York basically not only forced the medical
all those professionals to get their jobs back, but also ordered back pay.
Yes, because he basically said the science is now completely against you. The vaccine does not prevent transmission. That is now settled. It's no longer a question mark. It is settled. Vaccines do not prevent transmission. The fact that this judge made that decision is based on completely like arbitrary, like, doctors like, well, I don't feel comfortable giving someone an organ transplant that might have COVID. I'm like,
what?
You're basing that on just nothing, and this is why that's why I have so little respect for these judges. I don't care how. I really don't care how you're a legal expert. Give me a break. You're a legal expert who makes a decision that a 10-year-old can probably tell you is wrong. Like, I hate to say it, but you're an idiot. Mm-hmm. And if I met a judge like this who's made a decision, I'm like, you're an idiot. Get out of literally quit your job.
Yep.
Like, quit. You're incompetent. That actually does piss me off, because there's obviously there's some places where there's nuance. You're incompetent. Get the heck out of the judge's seat. You do not deserve to make decisions that change lives.
Nope.
Like, you're an idiot at this point. Like, yep. I'm just sick and tired of having to put up with these people.
With these incompetent people who are just like, oh, nothing has changed in the past 2 years. We should treat the virus as though it's as prevalent and as dangerous as ever. And it's like, no, you are absolutely foolish.
Yeah. I've seen enough judges across Canada make decisions that are so blatantly foolish that I just have no respect for them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. Like, you have to have a modicum of justification, and these judges are just either they're wildly incompetent in the fact that they can't do basic research, or B, they're incredibly malevolent. And in either sense, neither one is a justification for you to stay. You're either totally incompetent or you're totally evil. In both cases, you do not deserve to be a judge.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. And this woman may die because of your foolish mistake.
Well, you're not only foolish, but you're absolutely diabolically tyrannical. Eat it.
Mm-hmm.
That this woman has to take something which violates her right to conscience and rights to her own health and like bodily autonomy. I thought that was a big deal here in Canada, because we're apparently so pro-choice that we allow abortion up until 9 months, the taxpayers fund. But no, if you make a choice that goes against the government narrative, then the government and the legal system will go against you, which is why we have so little trust in our system here in Canada, because it's so inherently broken.
Yeah. No, it's just really terrible. So I get mad at this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, I do too.
I'm like, you have no excuse, man.
Yep. All right. Time for the final segment. Time to ruffle some feathers. So, time for the douche of the week. Trump. And yes, you heard me right. Donald Trump is the douche of the week this week. That comes as a surprise for many because, of course, those who have been listening to us for some time know that in the 2020 races, we both supported Trump. I had a big Trump flag on my window until somebody stole it, after probably the same person spray painted a swastika on it.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then I had a big, like, multicolored sign in my window.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like, I was very supportive of him in 2020. And our channel has been taken off of YouTube, or one of our old channels was taken off of YouTube for defying the YouTube regulations in regards to all of the rules about saying things about certain elections.
Like, not really rules, but they're guidelines.
Yeah, guidelines or community standards that nobody really knows what they are.
Yeah, but which I will say, and for those of you like maybe who aren't familiar with this, what the YouTube has done, and this is not at all hidden, they're copying the Chinese model. This is a Chinese model. The Chinese model is basically they give you these vague, totally very difficult to understand rules, and the enforcement of them is totally vague and totally like just wide open. They don't give you any actual legitimate reasons, because they know that if people know the exact thing that will get you banned or removed, then they'll find ways around it. And so they try to create vagueness because they want to promote self-censorship. That's the Chinese model, and basically YouTube is following the Chinese model, which is what makes it so difficult to talk here, because you have to self-censor in order to avoid being hit. So, for those who don't know, that's what YouTube is. YouTube is basically a soft Chinese totalitarianism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we saw that coming a long time ago, and we've spoken out against it many, many times. And so is Trump, which is good. I'm getting annoyed because my mouse keeps disappearing. But from the Hill, Trump attacks DeSantis amid positive press. Well, I'm like trying to move my mouse, and it's just like it's disappeared again. An average Republican governor. Don't think so.
Yep.
I'm calling BS on that. Ron DeSantis is by far the best Republican governor in the States. And
okay.
I do not know. Hold on. For some reason, we were losing frame rates for a second there.
Okay.
And I don't know why.
You good now?
I think we're okay now.
Okay.
So
before we go into the story, Stephen, tell me what you predict will happen going in, or what are your predictions going forward between Trump and DeSantis?
My guess is that, well, because Trump made this kind of, there's going to be a big, like one of the most important speeches in history on the 15th, and that's probably when he's going to declare. And if Trump declares on the 15th, I'm probably giving it like a 50% chance that DeSantis just doesn't run in 24.
You think he won't?
Well, it's I really hope he does. But essentially the way it is right now is that DeSantis knows that he has massive support, but he also knows that he needs some of the support from the Trump base, and the way that Trump inflames people and the way that he kind of maneuvers and manipulates will get people to turn on you. Like, I still know people who are avid supporters of Trump and still call Ted Cruz Lion's Head. I'm like, Ted Cruz is one of the best senators in the entire United States, and you're still using that phrase from Trump because you still hate him because Trump opposed him.
Or Crooked Hillary.
Well, Crooked Hillary is for its own good reason.
But like a lot of people were saying that Ron DeSantimonious is not a good.
Oh, it was a terrible
weak sauce. Kind of like it's a weak sauce.
It was a terrible insult.
Right,
it was a terrible insult.
So your prediction is that you don't think if Trump declares that Ron DeSantis will probably bow out. My prediction is this: I think that a lot of things changed as a result of this election. All right. So number one, Trump's picks were for the most part a bust. Trump's reaction to the election was not terribly popular. I think Trump got a ton of support and a ton of momentum after the Mar-a-Lago raid. That raid was huge for him, and he had all the momentum going into this election. If most of his picks had gotten elected, and if the Republicans had a lot of success on this one, and there actually was red wave, I think it was pretty much a guarantee that Trump would pretty much walk off with the nomination, and he would be unstoppable. However, the election did not go the way that Trump wanted, but alternatively, Ron DeSantis had such an incredible showing and such an incredible success in Florida that not only did he win by such a massive margin that he turned that state red to deep red. I think that Ron DeSantis at this point has some insane momentum, And I think he's going to be done. Wait, how long's the governorship? Is it 6 years?
The governorship is 4.
4 years?
Yeah.
Okay, because I've heard somebody say like longer. But okay. So if he doesn't, no, somebody did tell me. They told me it was 6. The reason I thought it was important is because if, let's say he doesn't run this time around, that means that he will be done in 2026, like right before the election for like the next election, 2028. I think like the ideals, a lot of people's ideal is Trump first, and then 4 years of Trump, followed by 8 years of DeSantis.
I restarted my computer. It was apparently like the only way that it wanted me to fix that issue. So things seem a lot better on my end now. Way better.
Right.
So apologies for those who kind of were having some issues. We're back.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to hope that this does not happen again. Anyways, moving on, continuing along this discussion. So, Trump released a statement on Thursday slamming Governor Ron DeSantis for being an average governor and playing games amid a wave of positive press. News Corp, which is Fox, the Wall Street Journal... Oh, no, wait, this is Trump saying this. News Corp, which is Fox, the Wall Street Journal, and the no longer great New York Post, is all in for Governor Ron DeSanctimonious, an average Republican governor with great public relations, wrote Trump, repeating a nickname he first used for the governor last week.
Mm-hmm.
Colonel Allen, the former editor-in-chief of the New York Post, retired in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Trump attributed DeSantis' political success as governor to the weather in his state, saying that he has the advantage of sunshine where people from badly run states up north would go no matter who the governor was, just like I did. Just like I did, folks. I'm sort of like having a Trump mixed with like Ben. I'm doing the Ben Shapiro Trump.
Yeah, I was going to say the Ben Shapiro kind of combo.
Former president claimed that his endorsement of DeSantis won him the governor. Yes, it did. His endorsement of DeSantis did give him the governor's mansion in Florida in 2018. Sure. The only difference is that since 2018, DeSantis has won the respect and the support of Floridians, and he is now widely considered to be the best governor in the country. His policies, by far, his policies and his practices and how he handles the media and how he handles other people are
bar none.
It's bar none in the country.
Like there's okay, so if you look at all of the governors that are like the big names in conservatism, you have like what's it called? Kristi Noem in South Dakota, is it?
Yep.
You have
she caved.
She caved a lot. Then you have like the governor in Texas,
Greg Abbott.
Greg Abbott, who was hit and miss. He was good in something.
He had his moments.
He had his moments where he was okay. Brian Kemp was okay. There's the Youngkin, and
Glenn Youngkin is still new, and like he got elected primarily. Well, actually, he got a significant reason why Glenn Youngkin was elected was because of the Daily Wire,
and particularly because of the parents that got pissed off at the people who were like mistreating children and parents at the school boards, which was the big deal. So like basically what happened was Ron DeSantis, he basically took on everyone. He took on the entire federal government with COVID, and he won. His policies won the day by far, and it's virtually impossible to really argue that he did that his policies were not successful. He won against the woke agenda with Disney. Like the entire country was against him, and he won that one. And he won with the border crisis. With that, everyone thought that little stunt, supposed political stunt, where he sent the the people to what was that place?
Martha's Vineyard.
Martha's Vineyard. Everyone thought like, oh, that's going to cost them because
no,
not even close, not even close. So, like Ron DeSantis, basically, he has shown a winning strategy.
Yeah,
He's shown that he can win in a hostile environment. You know, like with the with everyone against him, and he shows that he can win successfully. And basically, he's showing that he's a winner. That he's able to take on the opponents, and he's able to demonstrate through policy that he's winner. That is the biggest advantage that Ron DeSantis has. He's a policy guy, and he's also a very good at like taking on political opponents. However, as Michael Knowles always points out, he's not always great at everything. Like, so some of his political ads have been less than stellar, which I will admit, I'm like, yeah, I kind of agree. Some of them are just kind of cringe. And I'm like, yeah, that's the only downside I can say to him. But yeah, I don't know. So Ron DeSantis is he's kind of the guy with all the momentum right now. I think if he goes up against Trump, it'll be messy.
Yep, it's gonna be messy.
Yes.
That's the number one predict. Like, I couldn't assume who's gonna win if they both enter. Yeah. But it's going to be messy, and then there's going to be Republicans who are too incensed and will not support either way.
Yeah. However, if I had to put my money down somewhere, I think that Ron DeSantis would pretty much be unbeatable going into the 24 election.
Oh yeah,
like they have nothing on him. He's just such.
They have nothing on him, and the way in which he's governed is above reproach. And how he handles, like, it's funny how Trump handles the media, because of course it's you're fake news. But DeSantis is just like, okay, I brought this list. It's like, well, you lied here and you lied here and you lied here, and that's why I don't believe you. He's very similar in how Carrie Lake approaches the media. Carrie Lake did a phenomenal job when CNN addressed her. Be like, okay, I'll allow the interview if it's aired on CNN Plus. Does that still exist? No, it doesn't. Okay, bye-bye. Like, this is how good, shrewd politicians address their followers, address those who come at them with other questions. They address the public. Yeah. But unfortunately, Trump is not usually that shrewd. Trump has lost a lot of what made him an interesting candidate in 2016 and 2020.
The midterms are over.
And unfortunately, now I have to find the place where this video is because I had to restore my computer.
You also need to share your screen because I can't see what you're.
Apologies.
No worries. So, what do you guys think? Like, do you think first of all, who has the better chance of winning if it's Trump or DeSantis? Like, I think, I don't know. Like, I think Trump and DeSantis both have a very solid chance of winning. I think Trump has more liabilities, and he's more open to successful attacks from the Democrats. So I think he's got way more liabilities because they could attack him on January 6th, on being an election denier. Their entire shtick. And they use this on everyone. They use this on Carrie Lake. They use this on DeSantis. They use this on everybody. You're an election denier. You're pro-insurrection. You're a MAGA everything. Every one of those attacks doesn't work with Ron DeSantis. They basically had to try to somehow paint him as the new Trump. That's basically going to be their attack.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be as effective. So if I had to be a betting man myself, I think that Ron DeSantis would probably be more effective, and I think he would get the automatic, like the people who would vote for any conservative candidate, they're going to vote for either one. But I think DeSantis is going to get a lot of those skeptical like Republican voters, the ones that are like skeptical of Trump, and he's most likely going to pick up a ton of the independent and the undecided voters all over the country. So I don't know. I genuinely do think that Ron DeSantis has proven himself as a worthy candidate.
Yep.
But I think if they go into an actual primary debacle, I think it's going to get messy. And I think one of the big problems that I'm worried about is that Trump has threatened that he apparently has dirt on DeSantis.
I don't think so.
Like, I don't know. Like, like we'll see. But it sounds like from, I think that Michael Knowles mentioned, it sounds like if he does have dirt, it might be something of a sexual impropriety sort.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. I would hate that because that, even if that works and Trump gets the nomination because he's able to disqualify Ron DeSantis, then he basically gets 4 years, but then he basically destroys the potential next person.
Yeah,
which would suck because I mean it's okay, you win your battle, but the long term success of them or the Republicans,
it's
that dies too.
What's that strategy of war? Burnt.
I know what you're talking about.
It's where you burn behind you.
You destroy. Yeah, you destroy
as you retreat.
Scorched earth.
Scorched earth. Yeah.
Scorched earth approach. Yeah.
So that's basically what Trump has the potential to do, and it's essentially how he operated with this interview. So this is
30 candidates this election cycle. Tonight, win or lose, the results for Republicans, how much of that will be because of Donald Trump?
Well, I think if they win, I should get all the credit. And if they lose, I should not be blamed at all, okay? But it'll probably be just the opposite. When they win, I think they're going to do very well. I'll probably be given very little credit, even though in many cases I told people to run. And they ran, and they turned out to be very good candidates. They've turned out to be very good candidates. But
yeah, dang it, I'm having this issue again. I don't know what's going on tonight.
I have some investigation.
Yeah, maybe some clean. Yeah. My computer should not have this many issues. But anyways,
so
to finish.
What your take on that?
Well, that is. It's such an egotistical statement. And that's always been the biggest problem with Trump, is that Trump puts his ego above policy. He puts his ego above what's best for the country and what's best for party. That's why he nominated Mehmet Oz instead of promoting the other candidates in the Pennsylvania Senate race. Because Trump knew that Mehmet Oz was a friend of his and a fan of his, and Mehmet Oz had praised him in the past, and he's like, oh, well, he's a friend of mine, and so therefore I like him. And I do not like a politician who will choose to say, well, that person has said I was good in the past, so I'm going to promote them, and I'm encouraging them, regardless of what they actually believe and whether they're not an actual Republican. Mehmet Oz is not an actual Republican. He was promoting transing the kids before that was even contemplated.
Yeah, and I think keep that in mind, because when everything happened with all the candidates and everything else, Trump threw a lot of them under the bus. He actually criticized a lot of these candidates that lost afterwards, and I'm like, that. It's not a good look, because it looks like you're battling within yourselves. You're not looking like a leader. You're looking more like a bit of a, you want to distance yourself from the very people that you supposedly wanted to lead. I think you have a story about that, right? No.
Yeah. So from Fox, former President Donald Trump criticized 2 GOP candidates for U.S. Senate who lost their midterm election bids on Tuesday night. Colorado Republican Senate nominee Joe O'Dea and New Hampshire Republican Senate nominee Don Bolduc had either distanced themselves or openly attacked Trump for challenging the 2020 election results. And of course, they failed to unseat their incumbents. And then in response to Joe O'Dea losing, Trump said, oh yeah, Joe O'Dea lost big, make America great again. He wrote on Truth Social. He was celebrating the loss of a Republican because Joe O'Dea didn't openly support everything that Trump supported.
Yeah.
This is petulant to the extreme. I don't, well, even talking about Mehmet Oz, I don't like Mehmet Oz. I do not like him as a candidate. I didn't think he was he supported Republican values. I would have celebrated if he had won his race against John Fetterman. Because why? Because he's a Republican, and his support would have encouraged an easier majority in the Senate. It means they could actually do more to benefit the United States of America. Whereas Trump was saying, well, he didn't support me personally, so I'm going to attack him. Trump also attacked Blake Masters because he didn't think that Blake Masters promoted the big lie. Or not the big lie, but he promoted the election stuff from 2020 enough. When he called Blake Masters, he's like, well, I think you're doing great, Blake, but I think you're kind of softening up and you're losing your spine. And he's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I'm not hiding anything. I'm not saying that that election was legitimate. I'm not saying this. I'm not saying that. And Trump's like, well, you're not encouraging it enough. And like, maybe it was a mistake to promote you. It was this. And it's like, are you joking, dude? You are so petulant. You are so egotistical. And you will be a hindrance to the GOP if you continue to act like this. And I don't want to say that. Like, everybody knows that we openly supported Trump. His policies in the Middle East were great. His policies on trade, his policies on the economy, his policies in promoting justices. All those things that Trump did were phenomenal. He was the best president in both of our lifetimes.
Yeah.
But just because he was good in the past does not mean that he is good right now. And he has lost a lot of what has made him great. And now, if he stays like he is, he should not be the nominee.
Well, and you have to look at Ron DeSantis, and you see this all throughout, like, in his own party, in his own state. He constantly learns and knows how to work with people, particularly even people that may disagree with him. He's very effective at working with the people around him and encouraging the people around him to be better. Like, the response that they had to that hurricane was, I would say, almost entirely due to his very effective leadership. The response that they had to the COVID crisis was a response to his leadership, his being able to put the right people in the right places at the right time, and to kind of make sure that everyone's working together efficiently. You see this all throughout Ron DeSantis's governance, from the COVID policies to what happened with that attorney general that was fired. Everyone was standing behind him, saying, like, we all agree. We're like, thank goodness for DeSantis. Thank goodness for DeSantis. Like, basically, he's showing that he is able to get people working together or to common cause. And he puts the right people around himself. Trump has the tendency is that in the White House, you have a lot of people who are actively working against and fighting against Trump, trying to get him to cave and all that, and they're basically like sabotaging him from the inside. We knew that going in. The problem, the only downside I can see with DeSantis is I don't know if he would be as effective at Trump at addressing the big issues. I think it would be very effective at addressing maybe the like the ones that you would expect and the ones that you'd want. But Trump was very good at, like, he was bold. Like, I don't think DeSantis would have done what Trump did in North Korea. No. I was like, I applauded. Yeah,
Trump. It was ballsy. It was really, really ballsy.
Yeah. And it was a big move. I applauded Trump for moving the embassy, the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Trump has that ability that he will do the unpopular thing, and he will take the hit. Whereas Ron DeSantis, he will be successful, but I don't know if he'll be as effective overall in his governance. Now, the reason I'm concerned about Trump is because I'm worried that now that people are aware of him, that they're gonna get all their crap together and they're gonna put everything that they have into trying to stop him from getting reelected. I think Ron DeSantis has an easier path to get elected in 2024, but I'm not sure if he'll be as effective. like overall. I think he'll be effective on a lot of things, but I'm not sure if he'll be as dominant a force as Donald Trump was. And so, what do you want? Do you want the easy win?
Yeah, I think that a lot of the problem, and like we are certainly not saying that the 2020 election was the most wonderful thing ever. It wasn't. There was many issues about it. No, the 2020 election.
Oh, the Trump election, the previous
Trump's continual focus on the 2020 election is against the will of the American people.
Yeah, at this point,
most Americans just want to drop it. Now, they do want to encourage greater election confidence. Yes.
Yeah.
But they want to stop focusing on that election because that's focusing on the past instead of focusing on the future, which is where a campaign and a candidate should be focusing. Like, I like the direction of Carrie Lake.
Yeah.
Carrie Lake is like, yeah, when we come and we reign in Arizona, we're going to change Arizona, but we're also going to do some serious changes in how we do elections so this stuff doesn't happen again.
Yep.
Because that's how you move forward. You say, all right, like what's done is done. We can't change that. But this is how we can change things so that things don't happen like this again. And we don't have these massive issues where half the country believes one thing and half the country believes another. We have to have confidence in the system. Otherwise, everybody loses. So it's time to move past that. What happened is what happened. Everybody who follows us knows what we believe on that. We can't say it publicly on YouTube, but they know what we believe. But it's time to move on. And if Trump can't, then it's time to move on from Trump. So it's kind of looking like he might be the douche of the week this week. He is the douche of the week this week. So last and final comments, Danny? Yeah.
I'm a little concerned because, like, obviously I'm concerned about the fact that the Republicans should have really walked off in this election. That should have been a clear given.
Yeah.
The fact that they didn't is concerning. And it makes me wonder, like, I mean, obviously there's a lot of enthusiasm because you think, okay, you either have Trump or you have DeSantis. They're both rock solid. They're both very, like, effective and popular. And the 2024 should be a given. But considering the results in this election, the fact that the Republicans were basically a dead duck going in, they had nothing, and yet they somehow did not lose the way you would think that they should have lost. That concerns me because the same. How do we know that the same thing's not going to happen going forward in 2024? That, okay, let's say Trump gets the nomination. How do we know we're not going to get the same result or worse? Because we think well, the Democrats are stupid and terrible and they're never going to win. And so we just assume that, nobody in their right mind would choose Joe Biden as the nominee. But I don't know. People, we've seen stranger things, and I'm worried that actually might be the thing that happens, right? But also I'm a little concerned that if Ron DeSantis steps into the ring and he goes head to head against Trump, that's basically going to be self-destructive. That's my concern. So we'll see what happens. I am happy we have great candidates, but I'm worried that we're not going to be able to translate what good we have into an actual victory. That's my concern.
Yep. I'm 100% with you there. So, all right, that's where we're going to end today's show. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I realize that there's been issues today. They occurred 2/3 way through the stream. I cannot change any of the settings. I halted the stream, restarted my computer, and then brought it back, and there's problems still kept coming up. So I'm going to test a few things, but I don't have a real answer for you, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, at this point, you don't know what's causing it.
Yeah, I just know that right now it's overwhelming my processor, and I don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And suffice to say, my processor should be able to handle. Well, my processor has handled. How many streams have we done? 50?
Like lots.
And this is the only time where it's been like, oh my gosh, it's like on the verge of collapse doing this stream. So this is not a common frequent occurrence. It's just something I have to iron out the kinks. I probably have to clean out some of my drives. But if you're following us or watching this video later, such as on YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, and YouTube, do not forget to give us a like, comment, subscribe, tell us how we're doing, give us a review if you're on any one of those platforms, and show us some love, because we're feeling a little down with the red trickle. If you're following us on our text platforms, such as
Red Wedding.
Ooh, no, not that.
Yeah,
not that.
I think Ben Shapiro said well, that red wave turned into a red wedding, and I was like, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, that was. I like the red trickle because that's more of an appropriate. Because it was just like, oh, there's gonna be a red wave. Nope, it's a red trickle.
Yep.
Or a red ripple. That was how Matt Walsh put it. The red ripple is coming.
It was barely anything.
Yeah, barely an inconvenience.
Yeah, super easy. Barely an inconvenience.
Yeah, that's how Biden reacted. But if you're following us on our text platforms, such as Parler, Gitter, Twitter, and Facebook, then, same as the other ones, you know how to operate these platforms. Like, echo, subscribe. Tell us how we're doing. If you got really mad at us for calling Trump the douche of the week, so be it. Let us know. I'll happily respond. I'm fairly active on Twitter. So engage with us. And something, I'm not sure exactly what, but something is going to be coming down where the two of us are going to have a partnership with something we're going to do here in Calgary with Laura Clausen. But I don't know all the details yet. So be excited. I'm excited.
Yeah. Steve is gonna lose it.
I'm gonna lose it. Anyways,
I'll make sure to get it on tape. I'll get it on video.
Oh yeah, we'll record the whole thing.
Steven will be like like that. He'll be like,
Exactly.
Steven.
All right.
Yeah.
So before we sign off, Danny, sign us out.
All right, buddy. Everybody, we thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We love doing this stuff, and we love analyzing and examining politics and social and culture. And the thing is, we always like to remind you, when it comes to this stuff, there's a right way to do it, and there's a wrong way to do it. And what we would like to remind you is why be rude when you can be shrewd instead. Thank you for watching, and hopefully next week we'll get this all sorted out.
Yeah. All right. Have a great night, everybody. Have a great weekend. Have a good Remembrance Day if you're in Canada, and a good Veterans Day if you're in the United States. Until then, until we see you on Tuesday Newsday, good night, and God bless.